Quentin Tarantino has been lying to you. Not about the violence, not about the dialogue. He's been lying about what his villains actually mean. Because here's the thing about Tarantino that most film analysis misses entirely. Every single one of his antagonists carries a hidden thesis, a secret argument about power, about history, about what evil actually looks like when you strip away the cartoon masks and look at it directly. You think Hans Landa is just a charming Nazi? You missed it. You think Calvin Candie is just a sadistic plantation owner? You missed the entire point. A few ground rules for this ranking. We're not ranking by body count. We're not ranking by cruelty. We're ranking by sophistication of hidden meaning. How deeply Tarantino buried the argument inside the character, and how much that argument reveals about the world we actually live in. Let's go. Number 7. Ordell Robbie, Jackie Brown. Hidden meaning. American capitalism as a death cult. Let me start with the villain everyone underestimates. Ordell Robbie from Jackie Brown. On the surface, he's a small-time gun runner, a middleman, the kind of criminal you'd find in any crime thriller, doing criminal things for criminal reasons. You'd be wrong to dismiss him. Because here's what I find most fascinating about Ordell Robbie. He's not a crime lord. He's a businessman, a salesman, an entrepreneur who happens to sell guns instead of real estate. Let's pause for a second, because this distinction matters more than you think. Watch the scenes where Ordell closes deals. Watch the language he uses. Business is business. It's not personal. These aren't throwaway lines. Tarantino is showing you something specific. The exact same rhetoric Wall Street uses to justify layoffs, predatory lending, and wage theft coming out of a gun runner's mouth. The only difference between Ordell Robbie and a Fortune 500 CEO is the product. Here's the clinical reality. Tarantino wrote Ordell Robbie as a walking indictment of American capitalism. The character represents what happens when you apply free market logic to violence. Supply and demand. Eliminate the competition. Maximize profit. Minimize liability. Every decision Ordell makes, including killing Beaumont, including betraying everyone around him, follows pure capitalist reasoning dressed in street clothes. The hidden meaning? Tarantino is asking you a question he never states out loud. What's actually the difference between a gun runner and a hedge fund manager? Keep that thread in mind. It's going to matter when we get to number 1. Number 6. Vic Vega / Mr. Blonde, Reservoir Dogs. Hidden meaning. The performance of evil. Number 6 is different. Vic Vega, Mr. Blonde to his associates, is Tarantino's most misunderstood villain. Most people watch Reservoir Dogs and see a psychopath, a sadist, a man who tortures a police officer while dancing to Steeler's Wheel because he enjoys it. And that's true, but it's not the meaning. Before we get into it, I need you to hear something. Mr. Blonde isn't just a psychopath. He's a performer playing a psychopath. And that distinction changes everything about how you understand the character. Watch the scene again, not the violence, but the lead-up, the way he moves, the way he performs for his invisible audience, the theatricality of every gesture. Mr. Blonde isn't just torturing a man, he's putting on a show. Psychologically speaking, what Tarantino embedded in Mr. Blonde is something clinicians recognize but movie audiences rarely see: performative sadism as identity construction. Vic Vega doesn't torture because he feels nothing. He tortures because he wants to be seen as the kind of man who feels nothing. The violence isn't the goal. The reputation for violence is the goal. This is the hidden meaning. Mr. Blonde represents the performance of evil, the way cruelty becomes a mask you wear until you forget you're wearing it. He's what happens when a man decides that being feared is the same thing as being powerful, and then spends his entire life proving it to an audience that doesn't exist. And before you say, obviously, I need you to hear why he's only number 6, because the reason might surprise you. Mr. Blonde's hidden meaning is profound, but it's a meaning about one man's psychology. The villains coming up, they're not about individuals. They're about systems, civilizations, the architecture of evil itself.
Number 5. Stephen, Django Unchained. Hidden meaning, the tragedy of internalized oppression. Number 5 is not who you think. Stephen, Samuel L. Jackson's Stephen from Django Unchained, the head house servant at Candyland, the man who runs Calvin Candie's plantation with an iron fist wrapped in a deferential smile. Here's what makes Stephen uniquely terrifying, and why Tarantino considers him perhaps the most evil character in his entire filmography. Stephen isn't a victim of the system. He's a steward of the system. The system couldn't function without him. Let me tell you about the most dangerous kind of collaborator. The one who doesn't just survive inside an evil system, the one who optimizes it. Stephen knows Calvin Candie is a fool. He knows the phrenology is pseudoscience. He knows everything. And he uses that knowledge not to resist, not to subvert, but to entrench, to make the machine run more smoothly. Because as long as the machine runs smoothly, Stephen has power. The only kind of power available to him. The clinical term is internalized oppression, when members of an oppressed group adopt the values and worldview of their oppressors. But Tarantino goes deeper than the textbook definition. He shows you the mechanics of it, how it happens, how it calcifies. Watch the scene where Stephen finally drops the act with Django. The mask comes off, and what you see underneath isn't a broken man. It's a man who has made a devil's bargain and convinced himself it was his idea. A man who has spent so long playing a role that he's forgotten there was ever a person underneath. The hidden meaning? Stephen is Tarantino's warning about what happens when you give a smart person no path to dignity except through the degradation of others. They will take that path, and they will walk it all the way to hell, convinced they chose it freely. We're just getting to the good part. The next 3 villains represent Tarantino's most sophisticated arguments about evil. Arguments so carefully hidden that most people watch these films a dozen times without seeing them. If you're finding value in this deeper layer of analysis, here's what you need to know. This is what Villainologist does. We don't do surface-level rankings. We go deeper. Drop a comment right now. Which of these first 3 surprised you the most? I read every single one. And subscribe, because the top 3 villains on this list are going to change how you watch every Tarantino film from this moment forward. Number 4. Calvin Candie, Django Unchained. Hidden meaning. Civility is the mask atrocity wears. Number 4. Calvin Candie. Leonardo DiCaprio's charming, boyish, utterly monstrous plantation owner. The man who owns Candyland and everything and everyone in it. Here's what I find most disturbing about Calvin Candie. He's not a monster hiding behind civility. He's a monster who genuinely believes he is civilized. That's the distinction. That's the horror. Because here's the thing about Candie that nobody's talking about. He's the most modern villain Tarantino has ever written.
When Candie orders a man torn apart by dogs, he does it while holding a cocktail. He does it while smiling. He does it while making conversation. There's no rage, no psychosis, just a man who has built an entire philosophical framework to justify atrocity, and has convinced himself that framework is sophistication. The phrenology scene tells you everything. Candie isn't just cruel, he's intellectually committed to cruelty. He has read the pseudoscience. He can cite the arguments. He has built a worldview where violence isn't just permitted, it's morally correct, evolutionarily justified, philosophically elegant. This is the hidden meaning Tarantino buried in Calvin Candie. The most dangerous evil doesn't hide in shadows. It hosts dinner parties. It quotes philosophy. It wears bespoke suits and speaks French and makes you forget for just long enough that everything it touches dies. Candie represents the banality of atrocity dressed as sophistication. He's what happens when you build an entire culture around the justification of violence and then call that culture civilization.
Number 3. Jules Winnfield, Pulp Fiction. Hidden meaning: the villain who outgrows the story. Number 3 is where most people check out of the conversation entirely. Because Jules Winnfield isn't a villain. I know, that's what I thought too. But here's the argument Tarantino is making, and it's one of the most sophisticated things he's ever written. Jules Winnfield starts Pulp Fiction as a stone-cold killer. He and Vincent Vega execute Brett and his friends in that apartment without hesitation. The Ezekiel monologue isn't a sermon, it's a predation ritual. Jules admits this himself. He never gave the words any thought. He just said them because they sounded cold-blooded. They were part of the performance. So what changes? The bullets miss. 6 shots, point-blank range, and Jules walks away without a scratch. Clinically speaking, what Jules experiences is a transformative event, a moment so psychologically destabilizing that it forces a complete re-examination of identity, purpose, and meaning. But Tarantino's genius is that he doesn't have Jules become a good person. He has Jules become a person. Someone who realizes he was playing a character in someone else's story and decides to walk off the set. The hidden meaning of Jules Winnfield is that villainy is sometimes just a role, a script you inherited, a character you were cast to play because of where you were born, what you looked like, what circumstances handed you. And the most radical act available to some people isn't becoming a hero. It's simply stopping. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. That line isn't about religion. It's about agency. It's about the terrifying, liberating realization that you don't have to be the person the world made you. Number 2. Bill, Kill Bill. Hidden meaning: every tyrant has a philosophy. Number 2. Bill. David Carradine's Bill from Kill Bill, the deadliest assassin in the world. The man who ordered his own crew to murder his pregnant former lover on her wedding day. And the most philosophically sophisticated villain Tarantino ever wrote. I want to make you a promise before we get into the top 2. By the time we get to number 1, you are going to look at every Tarantino villain differently. Bill is the bridge. He's the character who makes sense of everyone below him on this list. The Superman monologue. If you only remember one thing from this video, let it be this. Bill's Superman speech is not filler. It's not a tangent. It's the key to everything. Clark Kent is how Superman views us. Clark Kent is Superman's critique on the whole human race. What Bill is really saying in that monologue is, I am Superman.
I am a superior being forced to exist among inferiors. And everything I have done, the violence, the betrayal, the attempted murder of the woman I claim to love, is justified by that superiority. This is the hidden meaning. Tarantino is showing you the architecture of tyranny from the inside. Every dictator, every abuser, every monster who ever lived has a version of Bill's Superman speech running in their head. A story where they're the hero, where their violence isn't violence, it's difficult decisions, where their cruelty isn't cruelty, it's the burden of being exceptional. Bill's tragedy is that he genuinely loves Beatrix. He genuinely loves their daughter. He genuinely believes he was right. That's what makes him terrifying. Not his skill with a sword, his absolute conviction in his own righteousness. He doesn't have to study philosophy to justify his actions. He lives inside a philosophy that was custom-built to justify them. Number 1. Hans Landa, Inglourious Basterds. Hidden meaning: the monster who doesn't look like one. Number 1. Stay for this, because it's not who you think. No, it is. It's Hans Landa. It was always going to be Hans Landa. But here's what you missed about him. You can't punch Hans Landa. You can't outrun him. You can't intimidate him. You can't even insult him. He'll correct your grammar while he's hunting you. Hans Landa represents something Tarantino spent his entire career building toward. The idea that the most dangerous evil is the evil that doesn't announce itself. The evil that speaks your language. The evil that compliments your strudel. The evil that makes you lower your guard because monsters aren't supposed to be charming. They're supposed to have fangs and claws and obvious tells. Landa is Tarantino's ultimate argument about what evil actually looks like in the real world. Let me tell you about the most dangerous villain ever written. Hans Landa is a detective. That's his job. He hunts people. But he doesn't hunt them with guns or dogs. He hunts them with language. The opening scene of Inglourious Basterds is 18 minutes of a man switching between French and English. That's it, a conversation. And it is the most terrifying scene Tarantino has ever filmed. Because Landa isn't interrogating Monsieur Lapadite. He's orchestrating. Every question builds toward a single inevitable conclusion. Every linguistic shift is a trap closing. When he switches to English, ostensibly to spare the hidden family from understanding, what he's really doing is forcing Lapadite to betray them publicly while they sit beneath the floorboards, unable to comprehend their own doom being negotiated above them. That's not cruelty. That's architecture. Here's the hidden meaning of Hans Landa, and it is the thesis of everything Tarantino has ever written about evil. The monster who announces himself can be fought. The monster who wears a uniform can be identified. But the monster who wears a smile, who speaks 4 languages, who makes you like him while he's destroying you, that monster wins every time, until someone who understands what he really is decides to leave a mark. Au revoir, Shoshana. He says it twice. Once in the farmhouse, a predator letting prey escape because the hunt amuses him. Once outside the cinema, right before he realizes the trap has closed on him instead. The hidden meaning of Hans Landa isn't that evil is intelligent. It's that intelligence without conscience is the most efficient killing machine ever devised. And civilization hasn't figured out how to defend against it. Because civilization keeps mistaking charm for virtue. And that's why Landa is number 1. Not because he's the cruelest, not because he has the highest body count, but because his hidden meaning is the one most relevant to the world you actually live in. Here's what I want you to take from this list. Tarantino didn't write these villains to entertain you. He wrote them to warn you. Ordell Robbie warns you about the violence embedded in everyday economic logic. Mr. Blonde warns you about what happens when you perform evil long enough that performance becomes identity. Steven warns you that the most effective collaborator is the one inside the house. Calvin Candie warns you that civility has been atrocity's favorite mask since the beginning of recorded history. Jules Winnfield shows you that the only way out is to stop playing the role. Bill shows you that every tyrant carries a philosophy, and every philosophy can be dismantled. And Hans Landa shows you that the monster you're looking for probably doesn't look like a monster at all. He looks like the most interesting man in the room. That's the point. That's the trap. Drop a comment. Which of these hidden meanings hit you the hardest? Which Tarantino villain did I miss that carries a secret argument you've never heard anyone else discuss? I read every single one, and if you're new here, this is what Villainologist does. We go deeper. We don't rank villains by who punches harder. We dissect what they mean. Subscribe, because we're just getting started.